Yeah, I'm not sure what your expectation for a campground is as far as noise, but there could be a lot of noise in a campground. Hey, what does a cow say?
Bah.
That's great. Last night around 7 p.m. So I was outside and you know, it sounded like a tire being overinflating and then blowing. And then it hit me that when I heard everything go silent in pretty much the whole campground. It sounded like a transformer to me. I didn't see any sparks, but power was out everywhere. So it was this transformer right here. So they said, oh, we'll have a guy out, you know, within 4 hours. 3 hours later-ish, you know, a guy did show up. He apparently blew a fuse or something, so the transformer could no longer work at all. So then they said, oh, we got to get a whole new transformer in there. So needless to say, at that point we went and got out what's now creating this noise, and there's lots of this noise all over the campground for people that are still here. We got out our Honda generator. I mean, we've been out 14 hours, I don't know, something like that. But yeah, so you saw a combination of last night, people scrambling around, some having generators with them, some locals went back to their homes, I guess people were coming in with trucks with generators in the back. People in motorhomes, of course, are just going ahead and cranking up theirs. Some people who didn't have generators, because today, at least from what I've seen, what I've experienced, like the hottest, what's it supposed to get up to? Like, it's in the 90s today. I mean, it's hot for Michigan. But yeah, today's video, we'll show you guys some real RV life, show you guys some gadgets, and we'll show you a parade of utility vehicles coming to give us power in our campground, apparently. Here they come, buddy. Here they come. Whoa. 1, 2, 3. Lots of noises, aren't there, buddy? Essentially what we're doing with power while we don't have power here is we're combining 10 amps coming in from this with 600 amp hours of lithium on the Battleborn batteries. And then the Victron Multiplus is acting sort of like a, I don't know, maybe like a crossing guard or something like that, and it's taking all that power and just sort of moving it around as needed, because the power it needs is different based on whether the AC's on or the AC's off. The AC's kind of the big player in all this. I mean, with the Airstream, especially with the propane fridge, I mean, you know, we could run the toaster, we could run the Instant Pot, hair dryer, all that for short amounts of time, really wasn't an issue. But your AC is a lot of power, and it's a lot of continuous power. You know, if you're in a situation where it's 90 plus degrees during the day, it's insanely humid at night, it's only getting down to like 75, 80, it's still humid, and you want some AC action going on, like the generator plus the lithium is a pretty nice combination to have. They might be done. Ooh, they are done. This AC just came back on. Power's back. Hear people yelling, they're happy. Power's back, so once the toaster gets done, once the toaster's done, let me know and I'll get the AC plugged in. All right, toaster's done. And this is one of the cool things too, like the Multiplus has some sort of carryover type feature, so for the most part, we shouldn't lose power in the rig from the TV and the router and all that stuff to have to reset. Like once I go swap this stuff around, I go back in, everything, they won't even know I flipped the power. Now today's video is not really about power outages, Honda generators. I mean, we're gonna show some of this gear and some of this stuff, but really it's about being prepared as an RVer. I love the John Wooden quote, confidence comes from being prepared. And if you've watched our channel for, I don't know, like 5 seconds, you'll see that there's a lot of times we have not been as prepared as we need to. So if you're ex-military, if you're an engineer, if you're an accountant, if you're anybody who pays minute attention to details, our channel might drive you crazy, but know that we are trying, we are learning. And I think, I don't know, maybe it's a sweet spot of, I do prepare, I do research, but I don't, I guess a good example, like our friend's finding our someday, Corey's a detailer. But Corey would walk up after I get done detailing the truck or detailing the RV or whatever and be like, dude, this is not detailing. Like, I was like, I know, I 80-20 it, you know, I put 20% of the effort and I get 80%. It's like, no. So some of you, I get it. You're gonna see our videos, you're gonna see what I call prepared and be like, Nathan, that's not prepared. But I think that allows me to try maybe new things that maybe if you're super prepared, I think you can almost be too prepared. Is that possible? I don't know. But like, you're so worried about being perfectly prepared that you don't ever launch or take the next step. What are you doing, buddy? You driving the truck? How's the truck go? So Garmin reached out to us and said, hey, do you want to test our RV GPS 890, which I did not see much information on. I was super pumped to test. But then between the time we started our conversations and we ended them maybe a week later or something, it was like before a weekend, they're out of stock and they couldn't send me one anymore. So they sent me a 780. It's around a 7-inch screen instead of like the 8-inch screen on the other one. But from what I could tell from the specs and everything I read, like it's pretty similar as far as, you think that's fascinating? My sidekick, by the way. But since this video is about being prepared, where are you heading? You gonna go to the back? And so you guys that know me know that we've never had a Garmin dedicated GPS unit. And when I was very open with Garmin about this, I said, look, I've never had one. I've never, you know, I'm a bigger fan of having fewer screens in the vehicle as far as confusion and being overwhelmed. And I would much rather have an app than a physical device. But I said, look, if you wanna send me this, I'll hook it up. I'll test it, I'll try it, I'll give feedback. Because one of our things we want to do with our channel that maybe we're not doing enough of is to partner with some companies to not, you know, we've got the stuff, we get to test the stuff, but it's to give feedback on this stuff and to give you guys feedback. And I don't think it's like a right or wrong with a lot of products. It's like, who is it best for? So for me, I don't feel like this has been the best fit, but I could be wrong because I've never tried one. So I said, look, send me one. I'll try it out. So I'm gonna hook this up. We're gonna have it on the dash along with Google Maps. I don't know how long I'll test this, probably for weeks at least, maybe months. And I'm gonna have it side by side with Google Maps and look and see what it does compared to Google Maps and pros and cons. And I'll do a full, you know, review between the two at some point. But for now, anyway, I just need to let you guys know I'm hooking this up because you're gonna see in the background and be like, what? You never told us you had a Garmin back in there. So it's gonna go like that. We got a screen here, we got a screen here, we got a screen here. We got a screen over here too. Our tire pressure monitoring system over here. So like, you know, that's a lot of screens. This is a big campground. We've got some looks coming in. We usually get looks coming in. This looks fun here. I'm gonna hook this side right here and oh my goodness. I don't think I could have taken that any wider than that. How bad does this turn get up here? Is it worse than that one?
We've never been there before.
I'm already in now, so I guess I'll just go. Thank you. So a lot of the time, the length limit on your campers is not the site itself, it's the campground. Oh my goodness, this is tight.
It's just tight as far as people's stuff too. I don't, you know, if I'm backing in.
It looks like that road curves the way we need it to curve. I think we're gonna be okay. I haven't seen what it's like to get out of here, but man, that was interesting getting in. So one of the things you do as an RVer is you trust, then verify. I pretty much don't trust any pedestal we hook up to. It's good to have, you'll read over and over about surge protectors. So this is the one we're currently using. Power grip 50 amp. But yeah, I can, you know, I can turn it on before we do anything, make sure everything checks out. As far as the Garmin, the biggest hurdle still seems to be there's just so many screens going on in this truck. But some of the stuff that stands out so far that I like it shows all kinds of information that Google Maps doesn't show. It would tell me when there's a steep curve coming, tell me there's a steep hill coming, it would tell me when there's a railroad track coming, which they probably got feedback on that. It does matter as an RVer. I slow down at most railroad tracks because it's consistently gonna just shake everything pretty bad. You do not want to Dukes of Hazzard one of those things going like 75 miles an hour. Our first, we did not film this. We were not filming yet. We were so stressed. We were so like, our first real experience RVing, was with a 43-foot fifth wheel. We did not know from day one what in the world we were doing. So I guess our first mistake was I didn't look at the yellow sticker as far as like how much cargo capacity we had in this thing. We did not prepare as far as like finding out from the person we're buying. We knew like by the brochure what it was supposed to be, but didn't realize once the AC was in there and the king bed. So we were strapped for how much weight we could carry in this fifth wheel to live in.
I'd carry in like a case of water and Nathan'd be like, nope, that weighs too much. Or he'd be like, you need to get rid of your shirts. He knew what every shirt weighed. He's like, you've got too many clothes. We need to get some weight out. And it was just very overwhelming, you know, having to watch every single little pound.
Okay, say little.
Little pound.
I bought a truck to tow the fifth wheel, which was the second mistake I made was with this truck. Now the specs said we were supposed to tow, I don't know, it was 15, 16,000 pounds. It was a 1 ton. So, you know, it didn't sag too much when the fifth wheel got on it and all that, but it just wasn't, at least that was my impression, right? I remember being like white knuckling in this truck, towing this fifth wheel in the rain. We did one thing right, probably out of all this entire story. So we said, you know what, we need to do a shakedown trip.
We didn't even know if we were gonna make it in the beginning. Like, it was so tough, because like Nathan's mentioning, we were on our maiden voyage, just sold everything, bought this fifth wheel. We were so excited to live the lifestyle. We were going to a campground literally like 30 minutes down the road on our way to Florida for our first trip, and here we are, excited and green, and literally we break down like 15 minutes down the road.
This is our first outing with this thing, right? So we had to be towed. They had to tow the truck back to our hometown to get it worked on. They had to tow the fifth wheel to the campground because we already had reservations. We're like, we will do this shakedown trip. So they towed, so 2 tow trucks already, 15 minutes into it. We finished up, we got the truck fixed, we hooked it back up to the fifth wheel, we left for Florida. I'm having a white knuckle, I feel like, the whole way. We did make it to our campground. It was insanely tight. It was a beach campground in St. Augustine. So man, they want to pack them into these places. We were probably like everybody's like, you know, when you come in and people are like, so I'm backing into the site. And like it's late at night, again, another rookie mistake. We're coming in, it's late, we're exhausted, it's dark, no power in the campground. And like, of course, our batteries are not strong enough, or they're dead or whatever, but we can't get the slides out. So we can't get the slides out in this fifth wheel. We can't get into the fifth wheel because of the layout, because it has, you know, all the slides come in, it's got the 5 slides. So we talked to them and they're like, oh, we'll just go hang out and do something. Well, it's 9 o'clock at night, right? I mean, our kids are just exhausted.
We had drove all day, had a little one in the car, and then they're like
Tennessee to Florida.
Yeah, and we just wanted to get there so bad. I mean, because we had already been through so much, and then yeah, I think they're like, yeah, just go out to eat, and we're like, 10 o'clock at night, go out to eat with, you know, a 2-year-old, like.
We had no generator, of course. No generator, no backup power. Batteries aren't doing it. It was a horrible meal.
It was about what you would expect. It was about what you would expect.
Yeah,
you know,
not because the food was bad.
Eating at 10 o'clock at night with a 2-year-old. Yeah.
We came back. The power was on. We got everything hooked up. It was a pretty good first outing, I would say, at St. Augustine in the summer. I mean, it was hot.
You couldn't really walk on the beach.
You could walk on the beach and burn your feet, but it was still.
It was
we could walk at night. We went to the beach, you know, but So we head back toward Tennessee after our first outing with this, our first route, we would call it. And on our way back, this is another thing, a mistake I made with the truck. It only had a 26-gallon fuel tank towing this fifth wheel. So we had to stop like every 2 hours to get fuel, which is one thing. But when you got a truck, a diesel truck with a 43-foot fifth wheel, and you're looking for truck stops the whole way, well, there wasn't a truck stop, and we ended up in Chattanooga, and like I had to get fuel. No truck stops that I could see within the foreseeable future for where we were at. So I this gas station. At this point, I've been driving it for a while, you know. I'm like, I got my confidence. I'm like, I can get into that one over there, this little mom and pop, you know, where you had to like do a zigzag. Well, I zigged, and then I guess I didn't zag enough or something. And I'm just going along like, you know, 3 miles an hour or whatever, and I hear a and I don't know if you've been to a gas station, they have these concrete, really high curbs around the pumps. And I'm like, why would you? Well, they need that for people like me who don't know what they're doing. They're somewhere they shouldn't be. So it had pushed the front axle forward. Again, it's only like 3 miles an hour. You think it just kind of hit it and I'd stop, but no, it pulled it forward. The tires on the driver's side were like, I mean, the axles are just totally twerked out of alignment. So we limped I went and got the fuel. I was already there. So I got the fuel. And then we limped to our RV repair place in Chattanooga, like maybe 2 miles down the road. We went like 15 miles an hour down the road because we didn't know how safe it was to even be towing this thing at this point. Talked to them. They said, look, you know what? Because we're an hour and a half from our home base, and it was going to be a real mess to get this fixed. There weren't a whole lot of places to stay right there. They said, look, if you go super slow, which that was actually kind of gutsy on their part. They go, if you go super slow, because the tires weren't touching, but it was definitely whacked out, and it was going to, he said, it's probably going to mess up your tires because they're so out of alignment. We had good tires on here. So we had to go super slow to get this thing back to our home base in Tennessee. And we made it. We went like, I don't know if I went over 50 miles an hour the whole way back. But we made it back with this axle. There's a whole other side of the story, the repair side of the story of what we went through at this point. We made a lot of mistakes, and that may scare you to death, and you may be thinking, man, I gotta get all my ducks in a row. But even looking back in hindsight, I mean, we're still here today. I can't believe we are, honestly, but and some of this was stuff maybe we could have prepared for. Some of it's just life. It's just what happens. And I think that's why you learn these things through video, which you guys are doing. You learn these things through life sometimes. When you hit the road, you have expectations that things are gonna go wrong. But that's why you prep just as much as you can. So really the core of this video came from 2 questions we received from patrons. And if you have questions in your journey, if you're in the preparation stage, or maybe you're just launching, it's a great way to do that. We have live Q&As once a month where you can replay those anytime you want, or if you join, you can go back and watch. How many of those do you think we got, the live Q&As? Goodness, I don't know, 20 of those? Yeah. I'm just throwing it out. Yeah. But there's a bunch of live Q&As. There's a lot of individual questions. There's travel maps. There's just discussions. It's a great building, encouraging community, and sometimes that's what you need, is just somebody say, look, you can do this.
Thank you so much for allowing us into your home this week. We hope you have an awesome week, and we'll catch you guys later.
Catch you guys later.